This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, welcome to class. As a new guideline has come, so it would be a stimulus to take class. This guideline is a little difficult guideline, so you have to have a basic idea about, uh, you know, Dopplers, CT, computerized CTG, and the classification also has they have changed. So many changes are there, and they have put a guideline in a very difficult manner. uh, I'll try to simplify as as easy as possible. Okay, so let's start. So now small fetuses. So these are small fetuses. They can be divided normal because they are constitutionally small. There could be possibility of non-placenta mediated growth restriction, structural, chromosomal, inborn error of metabolism, fetal infection. There could be placenta mediated growth restriction, placental dysfunction. Okay. Now, a factor that are responsible for FGR, like it can be divided into four parts: maternal medical factors, behavioral factors, fetal factors, and placental factors. I'm just starting with a small brief. Okay, this may be useful for part 2 people when they get their SPS. Okay, so so maternal uh, medical factors would be chronic hypertension, connective tissue disorders, autoimmune disorders, chronic infections, diabetes mellitus, renal disease, cardiac disease, anemia, uterine abnormalities, pre-eclampsia, and thrombophilia defect. And what could be the behavior thing that could be responsible? Smoking and low booking weight or low BMI, poor nutrition, alcohol, drug, or social deprivation. Fetal factor, it could be a structural anomaly, it could be chromosomal abnormalities, it could be multiple pregnancy, any congenital infection, inborn error of metabolism. Placental factors for FGR, it could be abruption, infarction, choriomanitis, placental cyst, and placenta previa. What could be the consequences? Why we are so much worried to detect FGR and to treat that? Because this could be the consequences. So, necrotizing enterocolitis, low Apgar score, hypoxia and its sequel, need for respiratory support, chronic lung disease, retinopathy of prematurity, long-term neonatal intensive care unit admission, and high mortality. So this could be asked in SPA. And part 3, the station is the question and the task comes where you have to kind of explain women what can happen if baby come early. So that much of knowledge is required for that, both for part 2 and part 3 people. Now, uh, basic to understand this guideline, few different things are required. So you should have an idea about Dopplers. Though as a obstetricians, we are not doing so much of ultrasound scan. Because of that, we have got less idea about these Dopplers. So I'll give you the brief idea, brief details only because it is not an USG class. So these are the in FGR we are doing all these Dopplers. Okay. So now uterine artery Doppler. So this is normal uterine artery Doppler and this is abnormal uterine artery Doppler. Too much details are not required. Whatever the details necessary for the understanding of this guideline, that much I would be speaking. Now, this is the recommendation by this new guideline. So uterine artery Doppler to be performed between 18 to uh, 23 plus 6 days of pregnancy. The women who are high risk disorder for growth. Okay, so in this woman, they recommend uterine artery Doppler. So previous SGA, previous FGR, previous preeclampsia, stillbirth, maternal medical condition, abnormal biomarkers, PAPE, alpha fetoprotein inhibin A. So these are the indications for doing fetal Dopplers. Okay, apart from this, if usually uterine Dopplers are done when the anomaly scan is done at 20 weeks of pregnancy. So what the guideline recommends, if a 20 weeks of scan they are doing, they found echogenic bowel, they found single umbilical artery, or they find fetal biometry and effective fetal weight is less than 10 centile, then they recommend to do uterine artery Doppler. So this is the new thing in this guideline. You should know this because it would be useful for part 2. The exam is coming, any SBA can come, and part 3 people also, they have to use knowledge in the scenarios. So this is about the uterine artery details that they give in this new guideline when it has to be done. Now umbilical artery Doppler. So now few things you will find it in this guideline they are using. So when the Doppler is done, in the USG machine, they check peak systolic velocity. Like this will be like here, it will be the peak systolic velocity. They calculate end diastolic velocity. It will be at the lower part of the diastolic wave. They also calculate time average velocity. Now, these calculations are done by machine, and this is not of our use, but basic knowledge is required. Then they with they like calculate SDR. SDR is fetal umbilical SD ratio, systolic and diastolic velocity ratio. Okay, SDR. But in this guideline, what they are using again and again is the PI. What is this PI? PI is pulsatility index, and how it will be calculated? Calculated peak systolic velocity minus end diastolic volume divided by time averaged velocity. Okay, and this is the formula for calculating RI. But need not to know anything about it. You need to know what is pulsatility index. Formula is also not required because in the exam nobody is asking you how to calculate it. Usually if you have seen USG reports of your patient, they give these values, and in the machines there is a like feed it software is there, and all these values they come with the report. When you ask for the Doppler, you will find in the Doppler reports all these results they come. Doppler usually decline with the gestational age. Why? Because the diastolic flow will increase. Now diastole is coming in the denominator, and so diastolic flow keeps increasing because baby has to get more blood when the baby gets mature. So usually Doppler indexes will decrease with the gestational age. Okay, so this basic information is required. Now for the umbilical artery Doppler, you have to know these things also. So umbilical artery, you can understand that this way the normal Doppler looks like. You have to understand what is absent diastolic flow. So now you can see this, there is no flow in the diastole. Can you see it here? No diastolic flow is there. So this is showing umbilical artery Doppler with absent diastolic flow. Okay. Now, so after that, if the baby is not get delivered in the absent diastolic flow, what will happen? There would be reversal. So umbilical artery Doppler with a reverse flow. Now, can you see you can see this spikes here. So this is the reverse flow, but it is just an baseline information I want to give because nobody is going to showing you these pictures. This is just for the better understanding. Now, this is from this guideline. What they define as like a Doppler changes. So you may get question from here. If the PI is above 95th centile, it is borderline. If absent flow, it is critical, pre-critical, and if it is reversed, then it will be critical. Okay, so this terminology has been given in this guideline only. It was not there previously. Apart from this, what they want, if the Doppler changes are borderline, they want uh, uh, Doppler and the CTG monitoring weekly. If they are pre-critical levels, then alternate day, and if they are critical, then daily ductus venosus Doppler and computerized CTG would be required. So this is an identity that has been new in this guideline. This was not in the bold headings, but in between the lines of guideline, it was written, and I found it useful, so I put it here. Okay. Now ductus venosus Doppler. So ductus venosus Doppler. So now in the ductus venosus Doppler, usually there are three waves are there. It is triphasic. There is S wave that corresponds to ventricular contraction, systolic contraction. D wave corresponds to early ventricular diastole, second highest peak, and there would be A wave that corresponds to fetal atrial contraction. That is the lowest point. Okay, so this way there are three waves are there, S, D, and A wave. So, like if the A wave is reversal of A wave is there, then that is always abnormal. So this is above they are showing this is the normal Doppler, and below it is reversal. You can see the reversal is going on. So this is A wave inversion or the reversal. So this is like pathological Doppler. Okay. Now ductus venosus Doppler, again this is from the guideline. Guideline says if the PI value is above 95th centile, then it is borderline. Absent A wave is pre-critical, and reversal has to be critical. Okay. So birth should always be planned if A wave absent or reversed or CTG abnormalities are there. Okay. So that much thing about the ductus venosus Doppler you should know. Now MCA Doppler, MCA middle cerebral artery Doppler. So middle cerebral artery Doppler, this will be the normal Doppler, and this will be abnormal Doppler. So in middle cerebral artery, all other Dopplers we say abnormal when the PI is more than 95 percent, but in MCA, if it is less than 5%, then it could be abnormal. They calculate like PI index, they calculate PCV, PSV, but PSV we already know it has been calculated to know fetal anemia, but they calculate ratios. There are two ratios are calculated. These are CPR. You will find UCR and CPR. You will find this in the guideline. What is the CPR? CPR is cerebral placental ratio, and if PI of MCA divided by PI of umbilical artery, then you will get the CPR ratio. Formulas are not important. The terminologies has been used in guideline again and again. So understanding is necessary. Then MCA Doppler, actually in FGR, there is what happens. There is a brain sparing effect because the brain has to get blood. So this will lead to increased diastolic flow to the brain and reduction of PI. So another measure sometime used is MCA PI and UI ratio. That is the cerebral placental ratio or CPR. Same thing I have already been explaining. This is from the guideline. So cerebral Doppler, abnormal MCA and UCR. This is used to take birth decision for the babies who are more than 37 weeks of pregnancy. If we have to take decision for delivery of like preterm baby, we are using ductus venosus Doppler. If we have to take decision to delivery for the term baby, we are using MCA Doppler, and the indexes that we are using is CPR and UCR. CPR is cerebro placental ratio, UCR is umbilical cerebral ratio. Okay, so what they say that abnormal MCA, CPR, UCR, it will not provide you reassurance that baby is not compromised. So they want all babies to deliver by 39 plus 6 weeks of pregnancy. Like more than that, they don't want the pregnancy to continue. This is from the new guideline only. Okay, so any of you have got any question till now? Okay, so let's move ahead. So this is from this guideline now. So definition, they have, this is the what is appropriate for gestational age. If the fetal size in between 10th and 90th centile, that is AGA, or appropriate for gestational age. Now this picture, whenever the charts are put, you will find there are three lines are there. Lower line is at 10th centile, upper line is at 90th centile. I have put the chart for the fundal height, but forget it. My job is to just explain you these centiles. You can see the parameter is lying in between these two lines, so that is appropriate for the gestational age. So this is the definition: AGA, fetal size in between 10th and 90th centile. This is from the new guideline only. Now small for gestational age, when the fetal size is less than 10 centile. Now you can see the fetal size, this parameter is lying below 10 centile. So this is SGA. This is from the new guideline only. This is the definition for small for gestational age. Now, what is FGR? Now FGR, these definitions, they have changed, and these are new in this guideline. What is definition of FGR? Fetal size or abdominal circumference less than third centile or less than 10th centile with Doppler abnormalities. So there are two definitions. I'm repeating it again. FGR is fetal size or AC less than third centile or less than 10th centile if it is associated with Doppler abnormalities. So this is the definition of FGR. You may get question from there. Now, what is static growth? If there had been no forward growth in EFW AC when they are measured 2 weeks apart, okay, like I just want to show you this. There is no change in the parameter, but in the exam you will find this question that what is the static growth. So no change in the growth velocity in EFW and AC measured at least 14 days apart. All these definitions from the new guideline. Now how to calculate fetal size? You already know that in the scan they do HC measurement, AC measurement, FL measurement, then they use formula. Different machine use different formulas, but mainly they use the Hadlock formula only. So if we have to find out whether the baby is growing well or not, like we can't get it from one scan, we have to do at least two assessments. Okay, so this also you may get as a question. Apart from this, these are the these are the charts. Whenever you find the ultrasound report, there would be head circumference chart, is abdominal circumference chart, like a femur length chart, and also so FGR. What is FGR? Now there is difference between SGA and FGR. Okay, SGA we know when the growth is less than 10 centile. What is FGR? FGR is a pathological restriction of growth potential. That means the baby is not growing well. Okay, it is like likelihood of FGR is more in baby smaller. Growth restricted fetus may show evidence of fetal compromise because it is pathological. Okay, so they could be less likely abnormal Doppler studies. Okay, now another identity. Okay, so now the question for you, anyone can answer this question. Which of following does not define FGR in previous pregnancy? Birth weight below 10 centile, early onset of preeclampsia and FGR needing birth before 34 weeks, birth weight below 10th centile, birth weight below 5th centile in the previous pregnancy. They want the definition of FGR in previous pregnancy. So what should be the answer?
Fourth one.
Yes, fourth one. Because it is very clear also, I just discussed the definition that third centile and 10th centile are there and fifth centile is not there. So this is the definition of FGR in previous pregnancy, because the risk factors calculation is done, and we have to find out whether she has got FGR in previous pregnancy or not. So this is the definition for that. You may get SBA from here. Birth weight below third centile in previous pregnancy, early onset preeclampsia needing birth before 34 weeks, or birth weight below 10th centile with placental dysfunction. This is the definition of FGR as a risk factor in previous pregnancy. Now, definition of FGR in current pregnancy. Okay, so this is the definition. EFW or AC below third centile, or EFW and AC below 10 centile with evidence of placental dysfunction. And how to know placental dysfunction? Like there could be two parameters, either uterine artery abnormal or uh, umbilical artery abnormal. Okay, so this is the definition of FGR in current pregnancy. They have made the guideline difficult. They have added so much of definitions. So you have to just revise it only, because you have to find out whether the FGR is going in the current pregnancy or not. So I'm repeating it again. EFW AC below third centile, we are sure. If it is below 10 centile, then one added factor is required, either abnormal uterine Doppler, that is more PI more than 95th centile, or abnormal umbilical Doppler, that is either PI more than 3095, or absent or reverse wave. Okay. Now this has been changed, this guideline. Basically they have, this has already come in ISO guideline, and but now it has come in RCOG also. Previously, when we used to read FGR, it was symmetrical, asymmetrical, whatsoever will be type of things we used to read, but now it has changed. Now the FGR they have divided into two parts, and this is early and late FGR. Okay, and they have given the definition for that also. No other choice rather than understanding and remembering that. So what is early FGR? Early FGR definition: gestational age less than 32 weeks. Okay, and but there should be no congenital anomalies. So there are definitions: either AC and EFW less than third centile, or um, absent diastolic flow. A for absent and diastolic flow. Or if they are less than 10 centile, then one Doppler has to be abnormal, either uterine or umbilical artery more than 95th centile. Similar to the definition that we just read, the FGR in the current pregnancy. So this is the FGR. Okay, early gestational FGR less than 32 weeks. I'm repeating: ACEFW less than third centile, or absent ADF, that is the absent and diastolic flow in umbilical artery. So this is FGR. Or if ACEFW less than 10 centile, then they had to come, either of this is required, either uterine artery more than 95th centile, or umbilical artery PI value, pulsatility index, that is more than 95th centile. Okay, this is the definition only. Early FGR. Early FGR usually happens because of like abnormal presentation that leads to increased hypoxia, cardiovascular adaptations, usually placental dysfunction, hypertensive disorders of pregnancy. Now late FGR. Late FGR, when it happens in the gestation more than 32 weeks, more than equal to 32 weeks, and there is no congenital anomaly. There are again definitions: ECEFW less than third centile, or either of these two, ECEFW less than 10th centile, or ECEFW crossing centile more than two quartiles on growth charts. Now you have to understand what is the quartile. So like when the growth chart is made, the growth chart usually divided into quadrants. Okay, first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. But if there had been a drop of two quadrants, that is called as a quartile on the growth chart. Like baby was, you can understand that baby was in a third quadrant in the growth chart. Now when you see again, baby growth centile, it falls down and it is now in first. So if there has been more than 2 quartiles on the growth centiles, then it will be again late FGR. And CPR I just explained, cerebral placental ratio. If it is less than 5th centile, or umbilical artery PI more than 95th centile. Okay, so these are the definition of late FGR, and these would be the direct questions in your exams. So you have to learn and understand only, because the terminologies, there were centiles, quartiles, PI values, they were difficult. So kind of explained them in the beginning. So now you understand that this guideline explain you SGA, the FGR. FGR divided into two parts. One is early and another one is late, and the definition of both is different. So this guideline explains you. Okay, late FGR, usually like it happens after 32 weeks. So defect in placenta is very mild, and usually late FGR is missed. So pregnancy, but it counts for adverse outcomes also. Now there is always a risk, risk assessment. In your previous guideline also, there was risk assessment. In this guideline also, though they have made it sort of more complicated, but again there is a risk assessment. Okay, any one of you have got any question till now? Should I move ahead? Okay, so booking visit, they want all women to be assessed by 14 weeks. Okay, so but what they want: birth weight, gestation, and birth weight centile of all previous pregnancies, so that the plan can be put for ultrasound surveillance. Main question that can come, that how much, when the assessment can be done, so your answer will come 14 weeks. Apart from this, now these are the few things. What could be the high risk factors? Previous SGA, and previous SGA, odds ratio for that is 8.1, and previous stillbirth, previous preterm birth, previous pregnancy with placental mediated complications. So that we already know the recommend is aspirin, 75 to 150 milligram from 12 weeks. Okay, aspirin more effective, it is taken at night. This is new in the guideline, though we ask patient to take at the night also because of gastric irritation, but this is, they say it is more effective. Apart from this, there could be certain circumstances when full dose cannot be used, such as patient having hepatic disease, renal disease. That time even the lower doses of aspirin can be used. So if you get a question like which is more associated with SGA, uh, then answer will be previous SGA, because the odds ratio is very high. Because of that, I have put it 8.1. Okay. Now, maternal conditions. So what the guideline says: diabetes with uh, vascular disease, renal impairment, antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, chronic hypertension, SLE. Stenotic lesions have increased risk of SGA. Apart from this, many women, they are taking medications, but as this like FGR is more common with women using beta blocker. It is associated with the maternal age for more than 40 years of age, less BMI, low gestational weight. Apart from this, the new identity in the guideline: bariatric surgery increase the risk of SGA. Gastric malabsorption associated with high risk as compared to restrictive, that is the gastric bands. You may find this is the question in SBA, or so you have to know that also. Nulliparity, social deprivation, unmarried status, maternal SGA, and like long pregnancy interval, they are shown to be the minor association with SGA. So this the guideline explain this maternal characteristics and the medical history. Now, stop smoking at what gestation will bring the SGA risk to the non-smoking pregnancy in the woman? Any answer?
Ma'am, less than 12 weeks?
Is it 15 weeks, ma'am? It's only a
Answer
guess,
is
ma'am. I
15
don't know.
weeks.
Thank you.
Answer is 15 weeks. Okay, this is from the new this guideline only. Now, how much coffee consumption considered safe in the pregnancy? Anyone can say anything.
200. Below 2.
Yes. So this is the upper limit. No, it is 2 mugs of instant coffee. Okay, so drug misuse associated with SGA, mostly cocaine. Apart from this, smoking, if the patient is able to stop by 15 weeks, they can return to pregnancy risk status similar to the non-smoking woman in case of preterm and term SGA. Consideration for e-cigarettes can be done. E-cigarettes and NRT, like e-cigarettes have got lower fetal risk for baby. Women who use e-cigarettes and NRT, and if they have carbon monoxide that's more than 4 ppm, then they should be offered scan as a moderate ways for the smokers. Okay, so maternal caffeine, again daily maximum limit is 200 milligram per day or 2 mugs of instant coffee. These are new things in this guideline. Current pregnancy risk factor: low like PAPE, raised alpha fetoprotein, or raised inhibin. If they are incidentally detected, then there should be additional surveillance for SGA or FGR. Okay, because apart from this, patient who has got low PAPE, raised beta HCG, they should be offered aspirin. Why? This is new in this guideline. Why? Because these are the placental biomarkers associated with adverse outcome related to placental mediated condition. So it is appropriate to offer aspirin. Okay. Apart from this, mid-trimester scan, if they find some conditions, they has to be incorporated in the next plan. Uterine artery Doppler has to be done at the time of mid-trimester scan, that I have already explained in the previous slide. Now, risk factor that can develop during pregnancy. This would be what? This would be mostly chronic chronic hypertension, or preeclampsia. So, if the patient has got BMI, blood pressure more than 160, 110, preeclampsia, ultrasound assessment for fetal growth has to be done. If they for with mild hypertension, if it is clinically indicated, it is give frequency of ultrasound scan. How to be done depending on blood pressure is given in the NICE guideline. Okay, I would not repeat that. This part is added new in the guideline. If the woman is critically unwell from COVID, then USG scan for biometry. First scan should be done within 14 days. You may get question from here, this slide. Okay, this was not there in previously because it was a guideline after COVID. Now, apart from this APH, if the patient has got APH, then patient has to be reclassified as high risk, and patient been consultant led unit as per our APH guideline, and the serial ultrasound scan to be performed. But placenta previa having no APH, it is not a significant risk factor for SGA. Sometimes they may give you a question and they may give you placenta previa, so to just as a distractor. So placenta previa, if there is no bleeding, it is not the risk for SGA. Now, risk reduction. What is done to the risk reduction? So risk reduction can be done by quitting smoking by 15 weeks. It can be also done by taking 10 microgram or per day vitamin D throughout pregnancy. Okay, and 400 microgram folic acid pre-conception in first 3 months. Now these factors like vitamin D daily and folic acid till 12 weeks, they are not directly reducing the risk of SGA, but benefit of vitamin D and folic acid supplementation is they reduce the risk of preeclampsia. So because of that, it is offered. So this is sort of a one of risk reduction, not directly, but it is indirectly. Okay. Now they wrote something about the electronic cigarettes. So like patient should be offered behavioral support and the NRT or the nicotine replacement therapy. For e-cigarettes, how much effect they have on the baby, evidence is not there. But if we consider routine cigarettes and e-cigarettes likely to be having less risk. Okay, so another questions for you. What is the recommended period for aspirin to reduce SGA risk?
A.
Huh? Which one?
D.
Yeah,
D,
answer
D,
is D.
ma'am.
D.
D.
12 weeks till 37 weeks of pregnancy. Previous guideline, I think it was till delivery or till 36 weeks. But now they have clearly specified 36 plus 6, that means 12 to 37 weeks you have to give aspirin. Okay, what are the indication of aspirin to reduce SGA risk? Previous hypertension, previous FGR, previous delivery before 34 weeks, or all of above?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. So now you can see this is given in the guideline that consider prescribing aspirin of 150 milligram at night. Now understand this they have given. So consider prescribing aspirin 150 milligram at night, less than 16 weeks, and where they have to give previous hypertensive disease, previous FGR less than 10th centile or 3rd centile, or baby born before 34 weeks. You may get question from here. Now aspirin, uh, this I have already told. It has to be started 150 milligram OD night dose from 12 weeks to 36 weeks plus 6 days. Apart from this, if patient has relative contraindication, then small dose can be given, and LMWH should not be prescribed. That we know from the previous guideline also. Now, this will be the main thing that you guys have to remember. Now, the previous guideline, at the end of the guideline, there was a chart. We used to do the risk calculation and minor factor, moderate factor. So the guideline, they people have changed same thing and made it more complicated. So do usually risk assessment for FGR has to be done at booking visit and the time of anomaly scan. Okay, this would be important for the part 2 people, and they have divided into 3 parts: low risk, moderate risk, high risk, and other factors. So I'll go same as the guideline because revision becomes easy. Now, what is the low risk category? When there are no risk factors. So what to be done for them? They should be like anomaly scan has to be done for everyone. So there should be serial measurement of symphysial fundal height. So this is the management for the low risk factors. Okay. Now, if reassess at 28 weeks and after any antenatal admission. Now the risk assessment is done at booking visit and mid trimester scan, but again reassessment has to be done at 28 weeks and after any antenatal admission. Patient to be assessed for risk of developing factors such as hypertension, disease, or significant bleeding. If any of these factors, like previously the pregnancy was low risk, all of a sudden the patient has hypertension, all of a sudden the patient has bleeding, then a serial ultrasound from diagnosis until delivery. Okay, so reassessment, it is not finished here only, it is continued assessment. So this part you have to understand. So this is low risk, no risk. Now moderate risk. So what is the moderate risk? What are the factors that you have to put in the moderate risk? So this is the factor for the moderate risk: previous pregnancy, previous SGA, previous stillbirth, and AGA weight. AGA weight means appropriate for gestational age weight. So baby died previously, but weight was fine. Then it will be moderate risk factors. Okay. And what could be the current pregnancy? So this is 2 risk factor previous pregnancy, and these are the risk factors for current pregnancy. Any smoking use, any previous guideline used to define the number, but there is no number here. Drug abuse, uh, more than and equal to 40 years of age at booking, BMI less than 18.5, gastric bypass surgery, previous preterm birth or second trimester miscarriage. So these are the current pregnancy risk factor that they have put. Okay, so now this risk factor you have to kind of remember only. There is no other way. Okay, so this you have to remember only. Apart from this, they will from the history they will find out, and if any risk factor is there, they will give aspirin. These patients, those who have moderate risk, there should be like symphysiofundal height measurement at 28 weeks of pregnancy. Okay, apart from this, they would have anomaly scan, and the like if their if fetal weight is more than 10 centile, so we are happy only. So these kind of patient would require serial ultrasonography from 32 weeks 4 weekly till delivery. So now if your questions gives you moderate risk factor, any of this factor you find in your question in the exam, your management would be this: serial ultrasonography from 30 weeks every 4 weekly till delivery. So this is about the moderate risk factor management, and this part would remain same always, that reassessment at 28 weeks if any new factor, serial scan from diagnosis of the risk factor till delivery. Okay, so this is about the moderate risk factors. Now comes the severe risk factor. So severe risk factors, these are the, I have put in the table in previous medical history. Patient having CKD, hypertension, SLE, APS, complex cardiac disease, previous pregnancy, previous FGR. Now here previous SGA but stillbirth, previous SGA stillbirth, here previous stillbirth AGA and previous SGA. Please understand, here is the fault. It is previous SGA stillbirth normal weight. In severe risk factors, previous FGR, okay, and previous stillbirth SGA, and hypertension previous pregnancy. So you will make mistake here. You will make mistake here. Understand, you have to classify the patient correctly. So in previous moderate risk factors, this is previous SGA and stillbirth AGA. In severe risk factor, it is previous FGR and previous SGA. Terms are different. Every term is different. And hypertension in the previous pregnancy. Rest you will remember, but this will create a trouble. Current pregnancy, PAPE, less PAPE, inhibin more than 2 millimole, MOM, alpha fetoprotein more than 2 MOM, echogenic bowel, effective fetal weight less than 10 centile, single umbilical artery. So these are the current pregnancy. So these are the, if these factors are present, then the patient would be high risk. Category of patient would be high risk. Okay. Now move ahead. If the patient has got high risk, patient was high risk, let me go it. Patient was high risk, so aspirin to be given. Where it to be given, that I have already discussed. And in this patient having high risk factor, uterine artery Doppler will be done. Uterine artery Doppler will be done. Now see the interpretation of uterine artery Doppler. Now they will do the uterine artery Doppler, and what will be the plan for the next for the pregnancy? If at 20 weeks uterine artery Doppler is normal and weight equal to and more than 10 centile, Then sonography from 32 weeks every 2 to 4 weeks till delivery. Another identity, like uterine artery Doppler is normal, but weight is less. Then if the weight is less, we have to be more careful, more increase monitoring. So monitoring will start from 26 to 28 weeks every week till delivery. So understand, normal Doppler, normal weight or more weight, we want them to monitor from 32 weeks every 2 to 4 weeks till delivery. Now here we are worried, Doppler is fine but weight is less. So we start monitoring them from 26 to 28 weeks, and every week we have to monitor till delivery. Second identity, that when the uterine artery Doppler is done at 20th week and it is abnormal, what to do? And the weight is fine. Then USG, serial USG will be done from 28 weeks till 2 to 4 weeks till delivery. But if the uterine artery or Doppler and the baby weight is less than 10, then it is the baby is really going something wrong is going on. So then the discussion with FMU has to be done. I did the color coding so that the planning would be easy. Any one of you have got any question now about the risk factor categorization and the further management? Any
Doctor, I
question?
have a question. Yeah, I have a question. When you have
Hmm.
serial ultrasounds, you mean Doppler and Leica and body weight?
Okay, usually a serial ultrasound will be like AC, EFW, and but I don't think so Doppler, because Doppler they will specify umbilical Doppler. They send your USG scan only. That means USG scan. That means the biometry scan.
Okay, doctor, but here even yeah, it is in the flow chart, but something weird. Why we when we have normal uterine Doppler and estimated fetal weight below 10 centile, we have serial ultrasound from 26, 28 every week. Why is even in their chart is not clear? Why is not every 2 to 4 weeks like the previous one and the latest one?
See,
Something weird even in their flow chart.
whole guideline is weird. I have never
Yeah,
found the guideline. This is the most toughest guideline. I
correct. Yeah.
never found this, such a all guidelines I have read, and this guideline is the most difficult guideline. Like
I
I am
think there's
reading it
error.
for many weeks to make
Yeah,
this class,
yeah, yeah. I
and there
know, Dr. Azuri, it's tough, but I think there is error here in the second one when we have normal Doppler and estimated fetal weight less than 10 centimeters.
but
I
the
think
fatal,
there.
yes, this is a new guideline for SGA.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, like if the fetal baby weight is less, because of that they are doing it every week, but every week should not be done ideally.
Yeah, yeah,
But it is written here,
especially
see here, serial USS from 26 to 28 weeks until delivery.
Dr. Weeks, but was not written every or something, but just weeks is related to 26 to 28 until delivery. But there is, I think they miss something every 2 to 4 weeks, like before and after. I think they miss because if you look here, 26, 28 weeks,
I think
they
it
mean to
should be
the
two.
28. I think
I
they miss
think that,
something.
yeah, I think there is a mistake. There
Yeah,
should be, it should not be every week.
yeah, correct, doctor.
It should not be every week. It should be like every 2 to 4 week, in my opinion.
Yes, doctor, yes, most likely.
Most likely, because every week what you will see in the growth, nothing. Every week should nothing you will see. I think it would be like that only, because in the guideline if you read in the middle also they want that the growth scan should not be done so frequently,
Yeah,
because there would be a false positive rate, so it should be
yeah,
2 to 4 weeks.
correct, doctor.
Now this part I have already explained, so I will not do it again. Now what are the other factors? Other factors
Excuse me, ma'am.
when the
Excuse me, ma'am.
hello?
With the uterine artery Doppler, hello, ma'am. Ma'am, with the
Yeah.
uterine artery Doppler in the early onset SGR, they are doing the estimated fetal weight at the same time. It's such a small gestational age. They are doing the estimated fetal weight
But yeah,
with the ultrasound, not with the.
see, whenever you see you send your patient for anomaly scan, always they give fetal weight. Fetal weight is
Yes.
calculated. The moment, see, the after 12 weeks of pregnancy, uh, they they can measure AC, FC, AC, HC, and femur length. If they are able to measure it, there will be weight calculation. So you see your patients when you send it for anomaly scan, you see the result. Always effective fetal weight is given.
Yes.
It is given only. It is
Yes,
given.
ma'am.
It is given, and usually like you will find 400, 500, 600 grams. So this kind of results you will find. I know like this is from my clinical whatever I see, I remember that. But yeah, the weight calculation is done.
Okay, ma'am.
It is, this is right only, but in this part there is, as you pointed, there is some mistake, because they are doing uss means the fetal biometric scan. Biometric scan cannot be done every week. It cannot be done every week. It should be like 2 to 4 weeks, 4 weeks only. Okay, is it clear till now? Should I
Yes,
move
ma'am.
ahead?
Yes, doctor, clear.
Now, what they defined others: when the BMI is more than 35, fibroids, congenital anomaly in the uterus, when symphysiofundal height cannot be measured. So, what they have said for these kind of women, like serial USS from 28 weeks every 4 weekly till delivery in the woman with a congenital anomaly of uterus, and every 32 weeks if the till delivery, if the symphysiofundal height cannot be measured. So this also you may get in the question. So it is same and clear as that. If the anomaly is there, then like serial USG from 28 weeks, 4 weekly till delivery. If it is just we can't measure symphysiofundal height, then it will be from 32 weeks every 4 weeks till delivery. Here is the difference, 28 and 32. Okay, you may get this as an SBA question. So this is this what I just explained you, what is given in the guideline. So risk assessment at booking and mid trimester. So this is low risk, I explained you. Then moderate risk factors. These are the moderate risk factors, and these are the management for that. And this is the high risk factor, and this is the high risk factor. They ask to do uterine artery, and how would be the further management from the uterine artery. They given you this. After that, it is others, and there is a reassessment at 28 weeks and every antenatal admission. So this is the complete chart that is given in your guideline. So this I explained. Now, how the surveillance can be done, what the guideline says. So what they want, symphysiofundal height. Symphysiofundal height measurement can be done in each antenatal appointment after 24 weeks of pregnancy, and it should not be done more frequently, every 2 weeks, because there would be like so much change is not there. And for first measurement, ideally to be done by 28 plus 6 weeks of pregnancy. Okay, and if the patient has got single uh, symphysiofundal height, they plot it, and if it is less than 10 centile, then like the patient has to be referred to the ultrasound assessment. Okay, and this part I have already explained. BMI more than 35, large fibroid, polyhydramnios. A clinical assessment for symphysiofundal height would be difficult. Because of that, they should be referred for the serial assessment of fetal size using ultrasound. Symphysiofundal height, how to measure, we already know. Fundus will be the variable point and the symphysis pubis is the fixed point. Apart from this, there should be adequate training for that, and this chart should be incorporated in the electronic maternity records. Now, USG biometry, what they say that you, the whole SGA, FGR, it depends on the measurement, and it is like um, they put the caliper on the images and then they take measurement and the machine did the calculation. So there has to be standard plane and caliper placement, because otherwise a person do it, second person do it, and the findings will be different. Apart from this, the patient who has got moderate risk category, they should have at 32 weeks, majority of women scan should be done at the interval of 4 weeks is appropriate. Okay, so less than weekly is not required. It is at least 3 to 4 weeks. That was given in the, so that means in that chart there is some mistake only. If 2 effective fetal weight managements are done, then ideally it should be 3 to 4 week time, so that the false positive rates are not there. So the moderate risk factor pathway that we were discussing with a uterine artery Doppler, so it should not be the weekly. Effective weight measurement should be at least 3 to 4 weeks apart. Okay, so this is about the fetal USG biometry. This you have to remember. Now, usually they are using AC and AC growth velocity. They can determine increased risk for neonatal morbidity. They are using formula, that is the Hadlock's formula. Hadlock's formula is the best in evaluation. So the too much details are not required about that, because you have to have a basic idea about it only. Now this is the Hadlock's formula, but I just put it, but nobody is going to ask you this Hadlock's formula. They have given some, when the charts are plotted for the effective fetal weight, they want the like a sonographic fetal weight. The chart should not be with the newborn birth weight standard. So it has to be sonographic effective fetal weight based growth chart. Growth chart should be use the methodology the, so that there should be low risk of bias. Universal reference chart may need to be adjusted according to the local and regional populations. So, and maternity provider should evaluate the difference in the reference chart to their local population, because there are certain universal charts are there, but universal charts cannot be used because these chart measure so many things. So the adjustment according to the local, standards of the local population has to be done. Okay, fetal size, like that, I already told this also, that one time doing fetal size doesn't make, you decide the patient is baby is having SGA, but the FGR can be noticed. FGR can be noticed if it is less than third centile. Okay, even on the one scan only. Now ultrasound biometry, fetal growth disorder suspected if there is a reduced velocity and static growth, if there is a drop of more than 2 centiles in EFW and AC, there should be a prompt review. So if there is more than 50% centile, like previously if the baby was on 80th centile and now the baby has come on 60th centile, or like no 50 loss at the 30th centile, from 80th, if baby is falling 30th, there should be a prompt review. There should be prompt review. Apart from this, like assessment of the fetal well-being include a patient to be in fetal movement and the computerized CTG to be used if there is some concern. Maternal assessment, if the fetal growth is diagnosed, maternal assessment for blood pressure and the proteinuria assessment has to be done, because hypertensive conditions, they are associated with the placental dysfunction. Now they also want, they have suggested that if the patient is having growth disorder, then most likely they are associated with the hypertensive disorders of pregnancy. So there are certain biochemical markers are there. These are PGIF, placental growth factor, and soluble FMS like tyrosine kinase 1. So ratio is calculated, and this ratio is recommended for the diagnosis of preeclampsia. And this ratio like PGIF and tyrosine kinase 1, this is recommended only for the diagnosis of preeclampsia, not for a non-hypertensive women. What is PGIF? PGIF is a vascular endothelial growth factor produced in pregnancy by placenta, and in circulation it binds to SFLT1. In preeclampsia, level of this soluble tyrosine kinase will be like high, and level of PGIF will be low. So the low level of PGIF, high level of soluble tyrosine kinase 1, they are associated with placental dysfunction or preeclampsia. Maybe you guys may ask cat question from there. Now, what are the investigations are done? Okay, so another question for you. If the patient has got shows growth 10th centile and abnormal uterine artery Doppler, what would be the next step? Abnormal uterine artery Doppler and
Referral to
growth.
the M.
FMU.
Referral
Yes,
to the FMU. Referral to the FMU.
referral to the FMU. Okay, so what if the now first we started with the definition, then we discussed the risk factors, categorization of risk factor, some details about the ultrasound biometry. Now the diagnosis is done as per the definition. So what investigation has to be done? If the fetal weight is less than third centile or less than 10th centile and abnormal uterine artery Doppler, then what to be done? Refer to the fetal medicine unit. Why? Because there could be risk of aneuploidy, or there is a detailed anatomy survey is required. Because of that, we are referring the patient to FMU. Now, the patient is severely SGA with structural abnormalities considered non-anomalous fetus. What would be the next step if the SGA is diagnosed before 23 weeks of pregnancy and the uterine artery is Doppler? This was same in the previous guideline also. SGA before, yes,
Screening.
it was same. It is the same only. If there had been SGA and the less than 23 weeks and the uterine Doppler artery Doppler is normal, answer is invasive testing. Okay. Severely SGA with structural abnormalities uh, and also considered non-anomalous fetus if they are detected before 23 weeks, especially when the uterine artery Doppler is normal. Uterine artery Doppler normal gives you an indication that there is no placental cause. So that means something is wrong with the baby only. So we are doing invasive testing. Okay. And now this part has been added new in the guideline. So analysis, when they are doing, like previously they said the karyotyping, but analysis should include microarray to detect micro deletion and micro insertions. Apart from this, perinatal exome sequencing to be considered in case of multisystemic abnormalities or isolated short long bones. These two lines are new in the guideline. This was same in the previous guideline also. Apart from this, if the like they are using microarray, if they are using this for the detection of micro deletion and micro insertion, then they are able to find increase yield for 4.8 in isolated FGR, 10% if FGR without any anomaly, 10.5 they are able to get additional findings if FGR with structural anomalies. Nobody is going. I don't think these percentages are important. I just want to give you the information that now they want to do the micro array. So what is the additional benefit of that? Apart from this, if they are fine, like short long bone, that is femur length, if it is less than fifth centile, then trisomy could be 8.8%. Trisomy 13 and 18 could be 6.5%, and unbalanced structural chromosomal abnormalities can be 17.4. Just I want to give you a message that if the short long bone, this could be the risk for trisomy. This could be the risk. This could be the risk for trisomy. So just in like maybe you will not get any question here, just for the understanding that I have put it here from the guideline only. This is previously same thing. Serological screening for congenital cytomegalovirus and toxoplasmosis. This we know it from the previous guideline also. And how many fetal infections responsible for SGA? This is a common question, and the answer is same, 5%. Now this they have added new. If the patient has got a history of travel, and so testing for malaria and Zika has to be done. Okay, malaria and Zika has to be done. So that's all I had to say about investigation. Any question, or we should move ahead?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, then where we are doing umbilical, because up till now we have seen in high risk we are doing uterine and then we are doing serial scans. So where we are doing umbilical artery?
Just wait, class is not complete.
Okay, ma'am.
Till now, see, till now we were discussing risk assessment, risk factors, and plan according to risk factors. Now we are going to discuss management of SGA fetus, management of early FGR, management of late FGR. That time everything is done. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Now SGA fetus definition we know already. If the growth is less than 10th centile, then we call this as an SGA fetus. Okay. Yeah, very difficult guideline. Yes, I know, yeah. Now, if the SGA has been diagnosed, then ultrasound biometry every 2 weeks, umbilical artery Doppler every 2 weeks. Okay, this is for the SGA babies. Got it, people? This is for the SGA babies. Definition of SGA: when the weight is less than 10
Less than
centile.
10 centimeters.
Yes. So this is the monitoring. Now, when the delivery has to be done in SGA. Now this is the delivery part they have explained. So this is again new in this guideline. If the effective fetal weight is in between third and 10th centile, okay, and other features, maternal factors are also present, or fetal compromise is present, then they want baby to deliver before 39 weeks of pregnancy. Second scenario, baby has got ACFW less than 10, but FGR is not there. Baby is only small only. There is no FGR factor. There is no additional factor. Then induction can be done at 39 weeks of pregnancy after discussion. Ideally, the baby to be delivered by 39 weeks 6 days. Is it clear, people? If the SGA is there and with some maternal or fetal issues, we want them to deliver before 39 weeks. But if SGA is there but is no other problem, then we can consider induction at 39 and baby to be delivered by 40 weeks or 39 plus 6 weeks. So there are two things they have decided. So this is for the SGA baby. Apart from this, in SGA, induction can be done at 39 weeks. Apart from this, after 37 weeks, they can consider doing MCA Doppler, that is the CPR, cerebral placental ratio, UCR, umbilical cerebral ratio. They can be used to guide birth. But if the Dopplers are coming normal, we can't let the baby to go further. Delivery has to be done by 39 plus 6 days. Okay, so this is about the now this is the monitoring frequency for SGA. This is the labor plan for SGA, and this is the possibility of doing MCA Doppler, but the delivery has to be done before this time. All this is new in this guideline. Okay, this is the SGA management. Is it clear, people? SGA management? Okay. Now early FGR. Early FGR management. Early FGR management when the gestational age is less than 32 in absence of congenital anomalies. So the now early FGR management, what they say. So early FGR management, as less than 32 weeks, you can understand the baby is so small. So there should be highest level of neonatal care. There should be multidisciplinary care because the baby with a neonatology, obstetrician, fetal medicine expertise, because extremely preterm baby if their baby is delivered before 28 weeks. And if the preterm baby is getting delivered with FGR, so there should be appropriate counseling for the patient. Okay, in the last exam part 3 only, a similar kind of scenario has come where the very small baby for the delivery and you have to kind of counsel the patient, and people did that, so many mistakes there. So it is very difficult when we are getting a very small baby and how to counsel the patients about the delivery. Now early FGR biometry every 2 weeks, and FGR or UA Doppler minimum weekly, or if the umbilical artery abnormality is there, then 2 to 3 weekly. Now few things you have to understand in this early FGR. Early FGR management is depends on when we have to deliver the baby, we have to find out few things. The guideline has incorporated all this. Computerized CTG analysis. CCTG is computerized CTG analysis using Dawes-Redmans CTG system with a short-term variation as a key parameter. Okay, this Dawes-Redmans CTG, actually in UK this Dawes-Redmans criteria is there. So what really happened when the baby is less like preterm baby, and so they put the baby on computerized CTG and they see for the 10 minutes, if it is fine, that means the criterias are met. And if the CTG doesn't appear normal to them, then it would be continued till 60 minutes, and what according to the what abnormality they find in the CTG, they will involve senior obstetrician. Okay, so this is the Dawes-Redmans criteria met or not met. I didn't put it here because it was not given in the guideline. You have to just know Dawes-Redmans computerized CTG system only. Few things. So early FGR, usually the management, will depend on the ductus venosus Doppler and computerized CTG. These are the two parameters. They help in timing the delivery of the baby. Other parameters can be used like ductus venosus PI index and low computerized STV, that is a short-term variation. Now, okay. So this is a few things about the computerized CTG. See, I myself has got very less idea about computerized CTG and I have not ever seen it. But to make you understand, I have put something. So computerized CTG, when to use? It can be used from 26 weeks of pregnancy and beyond. Okay, computerized CTG, CCTG can be used from 26 weeks of pregnancy, gestation and beyond. Where we should not use it if the patient is in labor or any uterine activity. These few details I'm giving you. This way this way the computerized CTG look like. This way the computerized CTG look like. And what we should know, that is used in the guideline. Calculation, basically computerized CTG is done to find out short-term variation. Short-term variation is a computerized measure of micro fluctuations of the fetal heart that is not visible to human eye. If the value is less than 3 ms, I think it should be millisecond, then it is strongly linked with metabolic acidemia and impending intrauterine death. Okay, so this is few things you have to know about the short-term variation. So they are doing computerized CTG because they want to check micro fluctuations of fetal heart, and they are checking short-term variation. So this is a little about the short-term variation of the values. If it is 4 to 5, it is normal. If it is less than 4, then it is low. If it is less than 3, then it is abnormal. If it is less than 2, then it is very abnormal. Okay, so this just in basic idea. Otherwise, understanding the guidelines becomes very difficult. So we are doing computerized CTG in the fetus more than 26 weeks, and we are doing it to find out the short-term variation, STV, that will help us to find out when the baby has to be delivered. Now, early FGR management. So in early FGR, I'm just showing you this, but the main summary will be upcoming slide. So in early FGR, when the birth should happen, if any time spontaneous repeated unprovoked fetal decelerations, so birth can happen. Okay, after 26 weeks, anytime, 26 to 28 plus 6 days, if ductus venosus, A wave, I think it would be absent. If A wave absent, A wave is at or below baseline. It is not absent. It is A wave is at or below baseline. But STV is less than below 2.6 millisecond. From 29 to 31 weeks, if the AV is at or below baseline, it is not reversed yet. Okay, it is at or below baseline, and STV is 3 millisecond. A little difficult, but this makes a little clear. This makes it much better. So early FGR. This is a summary for early FGR management. Early FGR is up to 32 weeks. We know that if the patient is having early FGR, fortnightly EFW and weekly UA Doppler. Someone was asking when UA Doppler will be done. Now you can see UA Doppler. So early FGR up to 32 weeks, fortnightly EFW and weekly Doppler. Okay. Now, if they are doing this and anytime absent or reverse wave in umbilical artery Doppler, what they will do? Then they will do computerized CTG and ductus venosus Doppler twice weekly. Computerized CTG and ductus venosus Doppler twice weekly. Okay. Now, if the patient gestation is 24 to 26 weeks, then the discussion with the patients and individualized care plan. But if your patient is 26 to 29 weeks of pregnancy, if A wave is absent or STV is short-term variation less than 2.6, delivery has to be done. If your patient age is 29 weeks to 32 weeks, then deliver if the A wave is absent or STV is less than 3 millisecond. Same it is given here. So apart from this, any time, read the red box. If any time, any gestation, any spontaneous repeated deceleration on CCTG or any maternal condition, then delivery will happen only. Apart from this, if the patient has got absent Doppler, then consideration of delivery by 32 weeks or surely deliver by 34. If it is reverse Doppler, that is more worst. So delivery consideration from 20 weeks and complete delivery by 32 weeks. So this is the whole, this slide will summarize whatever it is required for the management of early FGR. Anyone, any question here?
Ma'am,
Any question?
earlier in the guideline, if the umbilical artery Doppler flow is reversed, usually we do it daily Dopplers, ma'am. Now it has been changed even for reversal, ma'am.
Yeah, see here, A absent or reverse in umbilical artery. Monitor minimum twice weekly with CCTG or ductus venosus.
Okay.
This is what they have written. This is what they have written. The guideline
Okay.
they have made it very confusing, very confusing.
Mm.
Everything is now it is based on, sorry, now it is based on term, and also A wave is absent or STV. So short term variation, computerized CTG. They have made like that only. Because of that, I have not written only. I have put the guideline similar chart picture also. Now you can see it here. Let again read it here. Early FGR up to 32 weeks. Monitoring will be done by fortnightly EFW and UA Doppler weekly. So UA Doppler they are doing weekly. And so uh, okay. So what I understanding is, so if there had been absent or reversal Doppler, then it is individualized care. Otherwise, if it is not there, then monitoring has to be done twice weekly with computerized CTG and also ductus venosus Doppler. Okay, because for that they have given different management.
Excuse me,
I'll
ma'am.
just
Ma'am, what
explain.
do they mean by short-term variations in the CTG?
I just explained here. Short. This is short-term variation. Like, see, computerized CTG look like this. This
Yes.
is the picture for screenshot for the computerized CTG, and they are checking many parameters, but mainly our management will depend upon short-term variation STV, and these are the interpretations. So a short-term variation is the micro fluctuation of fetal heart that we can't see with the bare eye, and these are
Means
the values.
variability? Ma'am, means variabilities?
Maybe variability, yeah, variation means variability only. So, I'm not too much detail I have about the computerized CTG. I have not seen it ever.
Me too,
This
either me either not, haven't seen it. So that's why I'm
yeah,
saying whether it's these are decelerations.
no, these are not deceleration, this is variability only, because they wrote variation. Like clear terminology for computerized CTG. I have got myself no idea. I only just read short-term variation because that was required for the for this guideline, and a little idea what is that. And how should the interpretation has to be done? How the interpretation has to be done? Okay. Now again, click this. This I have already spoken. Let me recap this again. Early FGR till 32 weeks, fortnightly EFW, and weekly umbilical artery Doppler. And if any time they want them, if I think if any problem is there in umbilical artery Doppler and reverse and diastolic flow is there, then they are monitoring twice weekly with computerized CTG and ductus venosus. And on the ductus venosus and this computerized CTG and ductus venosus, depending on the number of weeks the patient is at the gestation, they are giving the plan of birth. If the patient is between 25 to 26 weeks, it is individualized approach. If it is 26 to 29 weeks, then delivery will be done if A wave is absent, that is a ductus venosus A wave is absent, or short term variation less than 2.6. If the patient gestation is 29 to 32 weeks, then the delivery will happen if the A wave is absent or STV is less than 3. But now you see from here, on computerized CTG, if any time repeated deceleration spontaneous, then the patient has to be delivered. Okay, so that means STV is not denoting the decelerations. Decelerations are different only, and if there is any maternal indication, then also the delivery will happen anytime. This is about the early FGR. Apart from this, they also say that if umbilical artery shows absent flow, if it is absent flow, then delivery can be considered from 32 weeks and patient to be delivered by 34 weeks. If the umbilical artery there is reverse flow, this is the reverse flow, then we can delivery can be considered by 30 weeks, and patient has to be delivered by 32 weeks. Okay, same it is given in here in the guideline. These are the boxes that I'm just explaining it again. So this is all the guideline has spoken about the early FGR management, how to monitor and when to deliver the baby. Any one of you, any question? Any question?
There is a reversed and diastolic flow we deliver after 48, within 48 or whatever. Now they say that you have to monitor even the reversed and diastolic flow. You have to monitor twice weekly with the CTG and um, the Doppler. This is what I'm getting from this last. Absent diastolic flow or the reversed in umbilical artery, monitor minimum twice weekly with CTG or ductus venous.
They have not put any arrow here. So absent and diastolic, it is individualized care. For other two, they want to monitor it with twice weekly CTG and ductus venosus Doppler. But ideally, ductus venosus Doppler is helps in planning delivery, and it is only done when there has been absent or reverse flow in the umbilical artery. It is like getting quite confusing only. So according to this guideline, they want this early FGR monitoring by EFW fortnightly and weekly UA Doppler. And if I think this is my understanding, if they are developing any change in the umbilical artery Doppler, then they are doing twice weekly CCTG and ductus venosus Doppler. Then on the basis of CTG and ductus venosus Doppler, they are considering delivery. And if everything is going fine, then they want reverse babies to deliver by 32 weeks, absent Doppler babies to deliver by 34 weeks. This is my understanding. Is
Ma'am,
it clear?
last in
Means
guideline there was reduced flow also. So they haven't mentioned reduced what to do.
No, there is no see, there would be absent flow and reverse flow. R is never for reduce, it is reverse only.
Yeah, ma'am.
R is,
But last in
R
last
is
guide,
reverse.
Yeah. Earlier there was raised PI also. Right now they have removed it completely.
thank you
The
so much,
guideline
ma'am.
has completely changed. I'm reading for 2 3 weeks this guideline, but it's still
Thank you so
difficult.
much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, it is really difficult. Thank you. You made it easy for us.
I'm
Thank
trying.
you so much.
It is very difficult.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is early FGR management. I'm repeating it again. Early FGR up to 32 weeks, fortnightly EFW, weekly Doppler. If any Doppler changes like absent or reverse, then they are doing twice weekly computerized CTG and ductus venosus Doppler. Then what are the changes they are finding? What are the changes they are finding? They are making the delivery plan. 24 to 26 weeks, talk to the patient. 26 to 29 weeks, if STV less than 26 2.6, deliver the patient. 29 to 32 weeks, like STV less than 3, deliver the patient. And if if ductus venosus or computerized CTG is doing fine, then absent patient has to be delivered by 34 weeks, and reverse patient has to be delivered by 32 weeks. Is it clear now? Now I'm getting it. Is it clear now? Hello, people. Is it clear now or not? Still confusion.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Clear? Yeah. So,
Ma'am,
EFW
in the
Doppler.
red box, ma'am, you just see the in red box it's written deliver if spontaneous repeated deceleration on
Yes, yes.
computerized CTG. Means they are also seeing decelerations.
Yes. So, computerized CTG, what we are, STV is short term variation only. I think they are denoting, variability. These are the micro fluctuations of the fetal heart, but they're using the term short term variation, because anytime spontaneous deceleration, you have to deliver the baby. Maternal condition, you have to deliver the baby. Okay, but if you find the patient, your patient on the monitoring has absent or reverse flow, but ductus venosus is fine and CTG is fine, then you can't delay the delivery. Reverse you have to deliver by 32 weeks, absent you have to deliver by 34 weeks. Now the I think the message should be clear to you people. Okay, this is again, I have highlighted the same thing. So if we are doing umbilical Doppler monitoring, if any time we find any trouble in ductus venosus Doppler or computerized CTG, we will deliver the patient early. If we are not find any problem, then absent baby we deliver by 34 weeks, reverse baby we deliver by 32 weeks. So this is the message. Now coming to the late FGR management, when it is more than 32 weeks. Okay, so let me go to directly to the chart only. So in late okay, this part is different in this new guideline. In late FGR, they want delivery to be started from 37 weeks and to be completed by 37 plus 6 weeks. So this is difference from the SGA guideline, SGA management. SGA, we discussed that we have to deliver baby by 39 weeks we should start, and baby should deliver by 39 plus 6 days. But in FGR, they have changed the dimensions. We have to, in FGR, the delivery has to be done from 37 weeks and completed by 37 7 plus 6 days. Okay, apart from this, if the patient has got reduced movement, absent movement, then there should be prompt assessment. But you may get question from here, and this you have to know also, that when the delivery has to be done. Okay, this better I would explain on the chart only. This is late FGR management, what the guideline says. This is late FGR. This is from 32 weeks till 37 weeks. 32 weeks till 37 weeks 6 days. For this is same, okay, fortnightly EFW and weekly Dopplers. Now if any say it is again same absent or reverse Doppler. So if it is absent and reverse Doppler, twice weekly monitoring of CCTG and DAV Doppler. This is same only, okay. Now when you have to deliver the baby if the patient is in between 30 to 34 weeks. STV, if the A wave is absent and STV is less than 3.5, deliver the baby. 34 to 37 weeks, A wave absent, ST5 less than 4.5, deliver the baby. Or if absent diastolic flow is there. Here they have put about the umbilical artery PI also. If the raised umbilical PI, then also the baby has to be delivered between 36 to 37 weeks of pregnancy. And if anytime spontaneous deceleration and also anytime maternal indications, the patient has to get delivered. Is it clear now, people? Is it clear? Hello?
Doctor, in
Ma'am,
such
as
condition, I
No,
mean, if
hello?
it's above middle cerebral artery, they use it, doctor, when it's above 37?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
If the patient is like not delivered by 37, then you can use middle cerebral artery, CPR, and that UCR values to find out the delivery time. They will guide the time of delivery.
Okay. But CTG, we can use it all. Even preterm and term, we can use CTG, electronic CTG, I mean.
Yes, because electronic CTG can be used from 26 weeks onward.
Yeah.
Okay, 26 weeks onward. Okay, now what they have said. Now termed baby is 37 weeks. Again fortnightly EFW and weekly umbilical artery Doppler. Okay. Then if the AC and EFW less than third centile. Okay, then baby has to deliver by 37 30 like 37 to 39 weeks. And SGA baby has to be delivered by 36 39 plus 6 days. This we read in the previously also, that SGA baby delivery has to be started from 39 weeks and has to be completed by 39 plus 6 weeks. But any time after 37 weeks, any time spontaneous deceleration, maternal indication, absent or reverse flow, and STV less than 4.5, we have to deliver the baby. Is it clear, people?
ma'am, FGR is SGA plus Doppler changes. That's it, na? Even that definition has been changed.
See, in SGA, the patient would have only their EFW will be less than 10 centile.
Mm.
Okay, there would be no Doppler issues. But in FGR,
Okay.
it is a pathological identity, so there is a potential growth restriction, and there would be the Doppler changes also.
Okay.
Okay, so here the patient is already went 37 weeks of pregnancy. Then still, if the pregnancy is continuing, then 37 to 38 weeks. If the baby it is like if it is less than third centile, then delivery has to be done by 37 weeks, 6 days, 37 weeks, 6 days. So this would be the plan. And if it is more than 39 weeks, then we can initiate the delivery, and SGA baby has to be delivered by 39 weeks plus 6 days. But after 37 weeks, any times there is a spontaneous deceleration or maternal indication, STV more than less than 4.5, absent flow or reverse flow in umbilical artery Doppler, then you have to deliver the baby anytime. Is it clear, people? Though I know it is confusing. Is
So
it
there
clear?
is no role of MCA Doppler now.
See, MCA Doppler after 37 weeks can be done, but MCA Doppler help in CPR UCR is done, but depend on MCR Doppler. You can't prolong pregnancy. Baby has to deliver by 39 weeks only. It is not that short.
Here it's written deliver if any signs of cerebral redistribution, means you have to do the CPR and UCR.
Yes, what you are saying?
And here it's written deliver if AC EFW less than third centile by 37 plus 6. When FGR cannot be excluded, discuss management. Deliver if any signs of cerebral redistribution. Cerebral redistribution is measured by CPR
See,
and UCR.
like after 37 weeks, if the pregnancy they want to prolong, then they can do MCR Doppler. Okay, and then they
Previously we
can do
used to do
MCR. Yeah.
previously we used to do MCA. So now it has been replaced by CPR and this UCR.
After 30, your voice is breaking. After 37 weeks, CPR and UCR Doppler can be done. They help to guide the planned delivery, but again, the delivery has to be completed by 39 weeks.
Okay.
Now, the small thing. They want 24 to 34 plus 6 weeks steroid to be given, ideally 48 hours before anticipated birth. If the delivery is planned, what would be the management? They want cot arranged. So any preterm birth is there, cot has to be arranged, and neonatal team has to be involved and if the preterm birth is there. Magnesium sulfate has to be given for neuroprotection. It can be offered from 24 to 29 plus 6 weeks of pregnancy, considered up to 33 plus 6 weeks, that is given in your preterm guidelines. Same. Apart from this, if the patient is having abnormal computerized CTG, ductus venosus alteration, umbilical artery reverse or endostelic flow, then cesarean section recommended, should be done after steroid and magnesium sulfate. Okay. Now, if SGA or late FGR babies and SGA babies, and abnormal umbilical artery Doppler, but end diastolic PI is abnormal, but end diastolic flow is there, then induction can be offered with a continuous monitoring, and induction with a mechanical method can be considered. So, uh, SGA baby or late FGR, if endostolic volume is present, then IUL can be considered, but CFM and consideration for mechanical method. Because we know if we give like all like prostaglandin steroid or Synto, there would be too many contractions. That baby will not be able to bear that. So they are saying about the mechanical method. Apart from this, these kind of if the SGA and FGR babies, so in order to investigate like early admission to be done. So after delivery, what will be the postnatal investigation and pre-pregnancy counseling? There should be histopathological examination of placenta. There should be histopathological examination of placenta that may help to identify the cause and guide management in subsequent pregnancy. So whenever the baby delivered with a growth restriction, there should be a postnatal counseling for the review of placental histopathology and investigation if any cause has been found out. An indication of LACS, I already explained that. The British Society for Hematology recommend testing for hereditary thrombophilia, but it is for acquired thrombophilia that may help in risk stratification and the treatment. These are the indications of cesarean section. In FGR baby with abnormal computerized CTG, ductus venosus alteration, umbilical artery absent, reverse. In that situation, cesarean section is recommended after steroid and magnesium sulfate. Okay. If SGA and late FGR and diastolic value is present, IUL with continuous monitoring with mechanical method can be considered. Early admission, and this is the postnatal investigation. Apart from this, this is the investigation and pre-pregnancy counseling. A plan for future pregnancy and preventive strategies like reduce smoking or aspirin treatment should be considered. Apart from this, modifiable lifestyle risk factors such as smoking, BMI, other medical condition to be optimized, and appropriate planning should be done for the future pregnancy such as aspirin and monitoring for the future pregnancy. That's all about it, people. Anyone any question? Anyone any question? Hello people, anyone any question? Anyone any question? Anything you want me to explain again? Okay people. So I try to make it like easy. Hope that helps you people. Bye. All the best for your upcoming exams.